the ruler's back.
Oh, this ain't Aurelius no more. Let's get it. It's Commodus, Fire and Storm, let's go. Bates College, let's get it. Aurelius' life was filled with war all the time, with mountains of violence he was forced to climb. He fought rebellions in the east and west, in Egypt and Syria. He showed Roman combat at its best. He beat down Vacoli and stabilized the lands until the scepter of Rome was passed to unworthy hands. Maximus told Quintus, unleash hell, but still the barbarians continued to rebel. Marcus Aurelius died before the job was done, and Commodus proved he wasn't his father's son. He stopped the barbarian attacks in the east, then hurried back to Rome so not to miss the feast. Commodus, a mortal man he might have been, but he walked around as though wearing Herculean skin. He remodeled the Colossus to resemble his face, even though history labels him as a full-on disgrace. Every previous Antonine was barely related to the ruler whose death they anxiously awaited. Commodus was Aurelius' only living son, and with him the end of Rome's glory had begun. Age of the 5, good emperors had passed. Commodus' rule stands out in stark contrast. So long to the peace that had since been amassed. Back was the violence from the not so distant past. He was a god among men, Commodus. He ruled his fist and not his pen, Commodus. He had a thing for younger guys, Commodus. The Senate, he did despise, Commodus. He was the last Antonine, Commodus. He declared himself divine, golden dust in his hair, shiny metal everywhere, while the most of the Roman world was living in despair.
Commodus used his skills with his chariot to control and appeal to the proletariat, but he spent too much of his time racing, while bigger problems he should have been facing. Despite his struggles with senators, he fought roughly 800 gladiators. He slew lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, he never noticed that the treasury had run dry. He used his position only to amuse, running a brothel just like Tom Cruise. He overindulged in fornication and booze, letting others rule while he took a snooze. Some might say that Commodus was gay cause he didn't see the sexes in a different way. He liked to kiss men in the middle of the day, and it didn't really matter who he called baby. Commodus was obsessed with his personal fame. He wanted Rome to be likened after his name. Cronon would be the name of his new stage. He also wanted his life called the Golden Age.
Hey, you know, I saw you texting today in class, and I know Imber Magnus prohibits texting strictly in class. What do you think about that?
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I had to answer my phone. I don't like it, man.
It's the Imber Magnus rule, though.
Commodus, he was a god among men, Commodus. He ruled his fist and not his pen, Commodus. He had a thing for younger guys, Commodus. The Senate, he did despise, Commodus. He was the last Antonine, Commodus. He declared himself divine, golden dust in his hair, shiny metal everywhere, while the most of the Roman world was living in despair.
Bloodthirsty, Commodus grew hungry for power. He killed Quintii family in a bloody shower. Measures thought were justified got out of hand, and he invented threats against the high command. Perennis headed the finances and bloodshed. Commodus would eventually ask for his head, but the bribery and corruption didn't stop there. An honest senator was unbelievably rare. Plots were made by the praetorian. Their actions cannot be ignored by any historian. The corruption led to Commodus' untimely downfall, even though all they were good for was breaking up a brawl. After Commodus ended Perennis' reign of terror, he empowered a childhood friend, which was his second era. He gave Cleander the command of his bodyguard. During a time when feeding oneself was very hard. He wanted power, so he bought up all the grain and implemented a vigorous building campaign. He thought by controlling the people's lodging and food, he could one day gain power by improving their mood. In the end, Commodus saw through his solution, and eventually the people asked for his execution. Cleander begged for his absolution, but the Commodus thought of only retribution.
Commodus, he was a god among men, Commodus. He ruled his fist and not his pen, Commodus. He had a thing for younger guys, Commodus. The Senate, he did despise, Commodus. He was the last Antonine, Commodus. He declared himself divine, golden dust in his hair, shiny metal everywhere, while the most of the Roman world was living in despair.
Here's Commodus. He had a god complex. He covered his hair with shimmery gold and flecks. Don't ask us why he did it. This man was quite vain. He loved himself so much, he squandered his domain. The hate from the Roman Senate was hard to contain. They wanted to put him in chains just like my boy Lil Wayne. His skills in politics were quite obscene because he constantly acted like a drama queen. He decapitated decapitated hostages just for fun, to show the Senate he was the chosen one. Commodus the Emperor died when just 31. He was killed shortly after his death had begun. His Hercules had finally been outdone. Leaving behind no son, the Senate at last had won. Commodus created one of history's greatest declines, one that eventually led to the end of the era.